The time periods that archaeologists recognize in southern Ontario, based on the finds they've made at many sites over 100 years now that we've been investigating these, the archaeological record in this area. And I'm going to go through time from the earliest occupations that begin way back 13,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. Prior to 13,000 years ago, southern Ontario was covered by the glaciers of the last great ice age, and it wasn't until they retreated that you could have vegetation and animals and of course people come into this particular area in order to occupy it. Obviously in the ice age it was much colder, and even though the ice had retreated from this area, the time period that we're dealing with here was much colder than it is today. But it would have been fairly cold most of the year, and the glaciers were just to the north even at this time, these huge glaciers, so you can imagine what it was like. We have very different kinds of vegetation, and this diorama also shows that at this time it would be like Canada's Northland, up near the north, near the tree line, be quite open, but it would be dominated by needle-like trees with needles, coniferous trees such as spruce, pine, these sorts of things. And the kinds of animal species that lived here are much different than they were today, what you would find in southern Ontario. And of course one of the major species that's shown here is caribou. We know caribou were around at this time. And the earliest, as I said, are Paleo-Indians, or literally old or ancient Indians, and they came into this area following the glaciers. And we recognize them largely because of the distinctive kinds of stone tools that they made. These sites are so old, going back, as I say, 13,000 years ago, that material like bone and antler, animal remains, just doesn't preserve on these particular sites. So we're forced to find out about these groups directly by using stone tools. We know that these peoples, remember, they were the first to come into this area, lived in very small groups. Because of the nature of the environment at the time, where it's dominated by trees like spruce and pine and so on, there wasn't much in the way of plant food. So hunting, trapping, fishing were the main activities of individuals at this time. And we certainly know they were hunting these animals that, as I say, we no longer find today in the area. We know that they were certainly hunting caribou. We know that they were certainly hunting Arctic fox. We know they were very small groups. They lived because these sites are incredibly rare, and so all of southern Ontario may have only had 300 or 400 people at this particular time. So we know that they spent most of their time hunting, fishing, trapping as subsistence pursuits.